Hi guys. So a lot of you already, I guess, saw the live feed, I hope, but I'll go over it real quick. So we I don't know if they did the jury instructions on the live feed, but we sat through about 45 minutes of jury instructions, and it just basically went over like what they, don't look on the internet, don't talk about the case to anybody else and stuff like that. And so they kind of went over that, the rules and, what items that are to not be included in the evidence. So say something like, for instance, Detective Aguirre had said, and I mentioned this before, he said that this was the worst case of abuse he'd seen in all the time in 35 years of working. That was stricken from the record because of a sidebar conversation. So he had to explain, like, you need to strike that can't be used in evidence and stuff like that. So that was done, and then we went into the prosecution's closing arguments, and then which was very heartfelt, very, very strong, very passionate. I think that the jurors had a very they felt connected to it. They understood and felt they felt emotional, which is, it's expected. I know a lot of people saw the images, and those are the kind of things that I've particularly have not told you too much about, because I know I have to see them, but it's hard to give that to other people to see, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. So yes, those were really hard, and that's why I had pretty much a difficult week last week. Just the images of the autopsy, and just, the conversations had about damage that was done to Gabriel's body and stuff like that was really a difficult thing to go through. So I didn't want to give that to you guys too much, and I do hold back a little bit on the information that I give you guys, just because it's really detailed and really explicit. And I'm going to go more into just details and stuff like that in a minute. The other thing we heard was the defense's closing argument, and they just basically cited the laws and what first-degree murder is, what second-degree murder is, special circumstances, stuff like that. So he was kind of really just detailed, and just kind of went through, what it is that he thinks, we should shift the blame over to Pearl, that it was all Pearl, and, they built this whole, scenario where it was just all Pearl, and then, it's all just happened upon her one day, and, he wasn't, the one who instigated, and he wasn't the one that intended to kill Gabriel, but it was maybe by happenstance. I'm not really sure how the whole defense was supposed to go, but it was basically, they were saying he didn't intend to kill him, and that, there was proof that he showed that he was a morally decent person, and, that he was the type of person who volunteered, and, that the kids had said previously that he was a good person, stuff like that. So, that was the defense, and then the prosecution came back and rebutted in a very quick manner, and just said, hey, look, he was there. At any point in time, if he wanted to save Gabriel at any point in time between the moment she picked him up and the moment he died, he could have done anything. So I think that was one of the the big hitters, when he sat there and he talked about, this 6'3" or whatever he is person picked Gabriel up, punched him in the face. When he fell to the ground, he waited and then picked him up again and punched him again in the face, and then both him and Pearl then did their attack. But the fact of the matter is that yes, he could have saved him at any point in time. If this was all stuff that he was so against, and he wanted to save Gabriel, he could have done it at any point in time. The other thing that was interesting is that He had said that he had said something about the defense had said something about them. Oh gosh, what was it? I'm sorry, I started reading messages. I'm so sorry. Shoot. Oh, he had mentioned previously, and the defense tried to use this, that Asaro had been hit and burned with he'd been hit with data cords and burned with cigarettes and stuff like that. And so prosecution said, well, if that had happened to you, then you would know what it feels like. Why would you want to do that to somebody else? Why would you want another person to go through that? You know, you would understand the pain. You would understand what he went through. So there's no reason to go through that. So it was a pretty interesting prosecution. So what happens next is basically we are now in deliberation starting tomorrow morning at 9:30. So the jurors have already, like, the bailiff took an oath. He is now in charge of the jurors. He will gather them tomorrow morning. They will all go to the jury room and they all start their deliberations. Now, I don't know how long that's going to take because it's up to them. It could take 1 hour. It could take weeks. We don't know. There's no way to come up with that. And so basically we have to wait for them to know what the verdict is. I won't know the verdict until then. And the sentencing will happen definitely after that. They are not being sequestered. And yes, it is a fast trial. They're not being sequestered. They've just been told because they just have to make sure that they are not discussing the case with anyone. Well, I figured, and the reason I asked if you wanted updates today was because, you know, people got to see it on the live feed today. So, you know, I figured I'd give you guys the choice of whether or not you have to see this or, you know, go on with your day. Gabriel's dad was there. There was the courtroom, as I suspected, was pretty full for the majority of the day. It stayed that way. Yeah, no, I get it. That's good. I'm glad you're here, Witchy. The other thing I wanted to talk about was, oh, yay. Okay, for the whole thing for Pearl's trial. So we have, after this trial with Asaro, we do have two other trials. One is Pearl's trial and one is the social worker's trial. So the Pearl's trial probably won't be until at least January. And the big reason for that, it's not only because of this, but one of the good reasons to have that in January is because they have to go through this trial. You saw some of the images. So you got to understand that we all, like, you know, a lot of people saw those, like, and those are the things that the jury, like the attorneys have to go through. Now, remember that the only returning attorney for the next trial is Hatami, is the DDA, the district attorney. So he needs a break, and that's fine. If he can get a break in sometime between now and you know, the next time he has to do another trial and discuss this, because I don't know if you saw the end of the prosecution closing, but it got emotional. He got really emotional because he was talking about how, how are you saving somebody by picking them up and punching them in the face? Like, that's not really a way to save anybody. Yes, the same prosecutor. Yeah, as the pre-trials, those are just discussions about what they're doing in the hearing. Okay, just so you know that the December 1st date, that is for the social workers. So that is specific to the social workers, and they're still in pre-trial. So I don't want you to get your hopes up, because sometimes those pretrials only last a couple minutes. You know, I'm assuming it would have to be hard for Gabriel's father to keep his composure. Luckily he seems to have a nice support system. So I think that, I think he's getting through it as much as possible. Because remember, this isn't something that just happened. It's been a little while. So I think that, he's handling it really well. I was not prepared for those photos. I'm sure it was hard for him going over those over and over. Right. So the photos, yeah, no, right. For Hatami. Yeah. It's hard because remember that he knows every inch of this case front to back, and he has to have a different tactic ready for the next trial. And, so he still has one other trial to go through. So yeah, it is, you know, it is hard, and he was actually sick today. So I think he did pretty well for, you know, somebody who wasn't feeling really well. The social workers are being charged with, they have 4 counts. One is, I think it's child endangerment. There's, falsification of documentation, and 2 other things, and I can't remember what they are exactly right now. I haven't looked at that case for a little while, but even worse is that I lost my notebook that had all my notes for all the cases. I lost it on Fig and Fig at 7th in that little shopping area somewhere, and I feel so bad for whoever opens that notebook and reads that. So if any of you have seen that notebook, I'm so sorry. Because it has details in there. You didn't see any photos, I just saw one. Good. Okay, good. Uncle David has not been to court. If we're talking about the David who I've never met, so there's 2 Davids, and I've never met either of them, and neither of them have been to court. And I think maybe when the kids, because I didn't show up to when the kids were testifying, because I needed a day off, but maybe he was there that day. Wait. Okay, for Bay Happy, can you, I don't know what your question is right now. Can you put it in like one, just one? And is there a chance tomorrow we get a verdict on this punk pig? Yes, there is a chance. There's a very strong chance. All 4 were ordered to stand trial on 1 felony count each of child abuse and falsifying records. Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, sorry. You know, me and my notebook, I can't believe I lost it. And I would, of course. No, thank you. I didn't know that's what was going on. Thank you. Yeah, so, some of the things that I wanted to touch on real quick are, so one thing is, yes, the father's going to be there. The father is there, and that's fine. I'm sure he's going to continue to be there because he probably wants to hear the verdict just as much as everybody else does, if not more. So, oh, with the live feed, there was apparently, NBC or CBS had a live feed from the courtroom. So they were doing a live feed, which we posted on the Facebook page. And, you know, I believe somebody said that ABC, one of the channels has the whole video. So you could probably find it in there, on one of those websites if you'd like. Also, there is still a link on the Facebook page that links to the live feed that was there. So I don't know if there is, like, if you can, you know, rewind it and see. So again, what was it? I'm sorry. So I didn't get much sleep last night because I was having a hard time sleeping. So my brain is like, it is very hard to watch. That is 100% accurate, because Mr. Hatami does go into detail about, what was seen and what the jurors saw, what the jury saw, because it is his burden. Asaro's mom was there, yes. Yeah, of course. Yeah, Asaro's mom is there. It was a pretty, like I said, it was a full courtroom. Pearl's attorneys were there also. They come in every once in a while to see, how the trial is going and, what's happening. So they were there. Emily was there and Olivia was there. Paula showed up. Paula was there today. And Val and Jennifer Garcia was there today. We got to sit and talk for a little bit, and we discussed just some of the things that were being said, and just the idea that it was, one of the funny things was, not funny as in haha, but funny as in like, I can't believe you said that. But so and one of the things that was said was that prosecution is saying that that they did this elaborate scheme to make these notes, and they intended, like, they were building this whole thing to kill Gabriel. But the defense is saying, no, that's not what they were doing. They're not smart enough to do that. I don't see things as, they're not this great. And then he says, why would they go out of the way to do this? And, why wouldn't they go out of the way to do that? So he says they're not smart enough. And then he says, but they were smart enough that if they were going to do this job, they wouldn't do it this way, because that would be silly. And it was just like, well, you can't have it both ways. They're either not smart on both ends or super smart on both ends. Like, it was really weird. I do not know if the media will air the verdict live. I didn't know that there was a live feed until until somebody sent a message to us on Facebook this morning saying, hey guys, can you post this? This is the live feed. I'm not, the pictures and videos, I'm not, they're all part of the live feed. So her hearing probably starts in January, yes. Do you know what the media, okay. The defense kept trying to infer how emotional and remorseful Sorrow was, yet he sat there like a lump doing nothing to bolster his, yeah, exactly. He does not have remorse. He feels nothing. He felt nothing as he took his life. He feels nothing now. Whose mother? Amanda, let me know whose mother you're referring to. Just be a little bit more specific. They got off on torturing him like they like to hurt him. I could tell you because I am a medium and I know what I see in the head. Yeah, no, they are definitely, there is something there. Yeah, they're disgusting. Do you know why they tried? Yes. So they were initially going to be tried together as a package deal. And the reason that ended was because when they went to make their pleas, he decided to flip and say not guilty. They were supposed to both plead guilty. And they were going to get life without the possibility of parole, which was my happy spot, because I was like, yay, I don't have to worry about these jerks sitting on death row and then me having to pay for appeals. I'd rather them just sit in jail and me not have to worry about them ever coming out again. So that didn't work out. And so what happened is that they then completely turned on each other. And then now that her defense is claiming intellectual, whatever, he had to go on trial on his own. So it's going to take longer for Pearl because they have to do hearings and do different processes for her defense now. I'm scrolling back. Give me a second. Asaro did not testify, no. Yeah, the defense did what they should be doing, which was defending him and trying to make him sound like a sweet angel, right? Yeah, that's part of it, yeah. That's when she went off saying you killed my baby, yeah. Missed again. You should probably go get a boyfriend instead. Oh no. Wait, did I do that view? Oh, Gabriel, I'm not really sure. He was with his remains were with his paternal family, but I don't know who has it. Who has his urn, or if there's an urn, or I don't know. So did the prosecution do the rebuttal? Yes, the prosecution did a rebuttal. It was very emotional. No, I reported him, but I just wanted to tell him he should get a boyfriend first, because I don't know. That's just my logic. Sorry. Yeah, so will they reach a verdict tomorrow? I don't know. Okay, sorry. Will they reach a verdict tomorrow? I don't know. They could possibly, but there's no for sure thing there. Is there anything you can do now to support Gabriel? Yes, there is. There are several things. Yes. And I'm sorry that I keep I keep forgetting to okay, now he's just blocked. Let's hope that works. There are several things that we have going on. So there is a petition on the Facebook page that currently only has 13,000 signatures. But the petition is actually a push onto the Board of Supervisors to enact actual change within the DCFS, so that they can actually do their jobs adequately. Like, they need to be held responsible for their jobs, rather than to just not do their jobs and then just complain away how they have so much work. So there's a couple of ideas on what the fixes are on that. There's that. There's a scholarship called the Gabriel Fernandez Scholarship Fund, and that is that was created with Emily, and she used the Latino Water Coalition, something like that, excuse me, the Water Coalition, and I'm sure you can find out more if you wanted to donate. There is a Sacramento address that you can look up and find. And with the Children's Hospital of LA, I created, along with the Children's Hospital, I created the Gabriel Fernandez Child Abuse and Neglect Prevention Fund. And it's not listed on their, like, when you go to donate on their website, you have to just select other or another fund and type it in. And if you type it in, you can donate to them. And that goes to the child abuse department that they have there, which is you can look it up and look up information there. Let me. Can someone? Oh, she isn't crazy. Yeah, I don't think she's crazy. Yeah, I don't think she's crazy. I don't know if the verdict will come in tomorrow. Is that the one with the little Gabriel with, I think, a Halloween? It has green around it, like what we have on the Facebook page. I try to make it look like the Facebook page because somebody else created another one that was something that's already, so there's already this thing called, it's already emergency holds in LA County that can be approved. So somebody created one about emergency holds to go to, I don't remember, like a senator or something, like somebody who, there it was kind of like nothing that actually can be done. So, or it's already there, one or the other. But, sorry, I'm still reading. But yeah, so there is, I'm going to flip over back to the donations. Gabriel's, garden. I don't know if they take donations. You'd have to talk to the school. I can't talk for them. They did that. That was something that they did because, it affected them. It not only affected them, but you got to remember that there was a whole classroom full of children. It affected them. It affected a lot of people. So Gabriel's death didn't just affect me and you. It has affected a lot of people. A lot. So that's why this is so important, and why we keep, pushing and talking about it, and why we have to read and we have to pay attention. And, we were just talking about today and how people were like, oh, I can't look at the pictures, or I can't read, or I can't watch the videos. That's fine. Don't watch the videos. Don't look at the pictures, but at least read. Because even if you feel like you can't do it, he was 8 and had to live through it. I'm sure that if he lived through it, and then he died, but, you're an adult. You should be able to, understand that this is something that happened in our own backyard. And we let our elected officials do this. We let the people that we pay our tax money to, we pay their bills. We allowed them to do this. This isn't just something that they did and that happened. We allowed it to happen. And we allowed it to happen by not speaking up, and by not pushing the government, and by not telling them that we're not going to just sit idly by and let them just do whatever they want. We let this happen. So there's a part blame on everybody at least in this country, that allows for the government to just do whatever they want and turn a blind eye, or for anybody who just doesn't look over at the neighbors because you don't want to say anything, or you don't want to be in that business, and it's not about you. If there's a kid over there getting hurt, you should say something to somebody. It may not be your business, but it's definitely not the kid's fault. Like, they depend on adults to help them out. So, how can you not want to be involved? And I think that's one of the weirdest things about this whole thing is, like, everybody asks me, who are you? Why are you involved? Why are you doing this? Blah, blah, blah. And the fact of the matter is that if I did some interview with a Spanish network, and I don't speak Spanish. And when he asked me, I gave him all the things. And it said in there, and I'll say this again, I do it because why aren't you doing it? Why isn't it everybody doing it? Because everybody should be doing it. So everybody should be standing up and saying, hey, I'm not okay with the way this is working or that's working. We can't just wait until things go to, in a handbasket to hell. We have to actually be, responsible for what's going on in our world. So back to Witchy Diva. I'm sorry about that. So it's the same picture as we have on our Facebook page. I don't know if it'll be live streamed again tomorrow. And I've already answered the verdict. Deliberations start tomorrow. It should be quick number. Yeah, right. Yeah, I agree with that. How can we see the live streams? Yeah, no, babe, I get it. And one of the hardest things was to send him home. Just so you know, I've talked to Jennifer so many times, and it was hard. It was a hard thing for her because she knew she didn't want him to go home because he didn't want to go home, and she wanted to help him. But she has a family, she has a life, and it was hard. That's why she made so many phone calls. That's why she reported everything she could. She went to everybody to try to find as much help as possible for him. And at the end, it just didn't work because the system is super flawed. Yvette, I completely understand. Johan, I understand. I have been like that since the inception of the Facebook page. Trust me. I understand. I'm a nosy ass neighbor. Yeah, Raquel, if you sign the petition, and that's all I ask because, the matter of fact, or fact of the matter is that the majority of protests, like, they're not really taken seriously. And I mean, you've seen it. You've seen people, oh, they're protesting now. It must be blah, 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 or it must be blah, blah, blah. So when I started doing this, I was like, okay, what can I do in order to bring attention to Gabriel, but not in a negative way, not in a way that's going to, make everybody go away or make everybody say, oh, I don't want to have anything to do with this. And so when I created the Facebook page, me and Emily talked, and I was just like, when I found out, there was at the beginning, it was such a mess. And for those of you who've been with us since the beginning, it was just such a mess. And when everything started figuring out, like settling down, and we started figuring out what was going on, I said, well, look, not only am I going to make this Facebook page and create this fund, but I'm going to make sure that everybody from here to wherever I can go will find out about this. And I remember the first time when I saw that this page reached Finland, and I was just like, that's amazing, because Finland. And then I saw that it reached like places that I'd never heard of, small islands that had 300 people as occupancy. It reached so far because Gabriel's story is so impactful. Like, you don't imagine that somebody would have like the mental capacity to do something like that to a child, let alone that it would actually happen in America, in our backyard. Like, no, there's no way to ever think that would actually happen. So when it happened, I wanted everybody to know America is so flawed and we need to fix it. Court is in recess until tomorrow. There is a memorial. So there are, we've heard a lot of people say, oh, we want to do a memorial. We want to do this. We want to do, I had somebody who told me they want to do a tree. And I said, okay, do a tree. And, we'll see what happens. The only memorial right now that there really is Gabriel's Garden. There's also a place called Gabriel's House in Palmdale. I've never been there. They just named it after Gabriel, but it was, there was some kind of movement in Palmdale where they just wanted to give a place for the kids to go. Thank you, Raquel. I don't know if neighbors ever heard anything. I wouldn't even want to ask because I can't. I don't know. I don't want to know. At this point, like that point, I don't want to know. Yes, Jennifer still teaches at the same school, I believe. Yay, Canada. I love to call you guys Canadian. The Canadians from Canada because I think it sounds better. Is there a way we could get okay, we already talked about that. I mean, if you want to do something, that's fine. I'm all about, people doing whatever they feel, they want to do in order to make, a memorial. Like, please, we would probably be more than happy to share that with other people. It's just that, both of us have, me and Emily, and I'm sorry, both of us, all three of us, me, Emily, and Paula are all like mothers, and we all have, our money to earn and things to do. So we'd love to be involved in everything. We just can't. I obsess over making sure that everybody knows as much as possible here. So thank you for telling everybody about Gabriel. Well, the thing about the neighbors, and it was really hard for them too. Just a quick note on the neighbors, is that every time they would go to report something, a social worker would show up. They had no idea that the social worker was not actually doing anything. So, yes, they reported. Yes, things were heard. I don't want to know how much was heard, specifically because of I can't imagine what they heard. No, let me say that differently. I don't want to imagine what they heard because it's hard. But when they went to report, something, there was always a social worker that would show up. So they figured something was being handled. There was no way for them to know it wasn't being handled, aside from the fact that they kept going up. There are no outbursts in court now. I'm doing okay. I was a little emotional today. I'm still a little emotional because there's some things that have made me really angry about this case, and just how it was so easy for Gabriel to be saved, and it's so easy, so easy. And there was all this talk about, this person being a good person, that person being a good person. And I'm going to be honest, there's probably, I don't know, aside from Emily and maybe like a handful of people, there's not many people that I would trust from Gabriel's family. And it sucks because he didn't ask to be born into that. But what I can say is, I hope that his sisters and brothers just live well and come out okay and thrive and are happy. And by the way, if you guys ever want to send anything to them, you can send it in care of DDA John Hatami at the district attorney's office in LA. I don't have the address on me right now, but you can do that and then just say, put on a note on that it's for the siblings, and that's he'll get that to them. No outbursts. Did they ever record any of the abuse? No, they didn't record the abuse. It was just mostly in their text messages. Yeah, I will. No, see, the reporters would talk to Gabriel, but they would talk to him in front of Pearl and Asaro. It's so funny. What I usually use, just so you know, is I love Lush. An old friend of mine got me addicted to Lush, so I do the Lush situation. So if you ever get a chance to do Lush, those bath bombs are amazing. Hi, Tara. So basically, I think we're at the end here. I don't know what else to say. Oh, a Lush cocktail. I don't know what that is. Are you talking about alcohol? Because I don't really drink. There were, okay, so with the text messages, there were some there was some text messages that were released in court. Yes. So there were some text messages that were released in court. It's so frustrating. Gabriel did everything we tell kids to do. Exactly. It was so frustrating. And not only that, but he did everything he was told. You know, he knew what to do. The teacher did everything she thought knew what to do. The security guard at the gate, and see, this is the question that I need to ask you guys and what you think. At the gate office, the security guard reported a 3-page report, called 911, and made a report in regards to Gabriel's, what he saw on Gabriel. Did anybody ever wonder why none of the gate officers made a report? They're all social workers. They're all mandated reporters. Why didn't any of them make a report? No reason. And when the security guard reported it, the social workers told him to stay out of it, not to get involved. Isn't that crazy? Right, they weren't supposed to talk to the kids in front of him. That's, yeah. See, the thing is that with the suicide note, and that's the hardest thing I have with, because my daughter's 9 and my son is 11. I have a 21-year-old, but like, I've seen them go through, you know, first grade. What kid knows what suicide is? Especially at 8 years old. That's a really weird thing for a kid to know. I don't know if they have ties to gangs. What did Gabriel say in the note? He said that he wanted to kill himself. He was begging to be rescued from the teacher and peers. He relied on the lady to take him back home to his grandparents. It must be really hard for them, and the promise that was made. Okay. I believe they made that. Yeah, I believe they made him write that too. He said, I want to commit suicide. Yeah, it's hard for me to believe that he wrote a note contemplating death. We know that it's his writing, but we don't have evidence to show that she, like, showed him something or, you know, spelled something out and told him to write it. Like, nobody knows. And he wouldn't have been able to read the word suicide or even comprehend what that means. Okay, so for the sheriff in Palmdale, about the non-emergency thing, I was just told that thanks to Gabriel's case, that has now changed. If somebody calls 911 to report abuse on a child, it is now an emergency. Well, so the thing is that the grandparents did one report. Specifically the grandmother. She made one report. And after the one report, Pearl took Gabriel and kept him with her and didn't let grandma see him. So then, afterwards, grandma didn't make reports anymore. It was just the one. And I was told, ironically, that it took Nicole Brown Simpson's death in order for 911 to accept battered women as an emergency. So it's I don't know why. Nothing that I know of. With the sheriffs and hold on. With the sheriffs and police department, I don't know what it's called. I'm sorry. With the sheriff's department, they all the records are on lock, and they have internal affairs, so we don't know what's going on. I cannot speak about the father. I actually don't. I've only talked to him one time, and it was a one-way conversation. I asked him for a cigarette. Other than that, we kind of just leave him be. I mean, it can't be easy for you to be in a court where right across from a man who brutally murdered your kid. So I don't screw with him. I'm gonna leave him alone. Is there any other questions? Otherwise, I think we're at like 46 minutes now, and I think I'm done. I don't know about you guys. Right. 6 officers are reprimanded. That's right. All right, guys. Have a good night. Thank you.